In this video, we're going to look at the calculated interval question type. So from our drop-down, we'll go to calculated interval, which is very similar to interval, but students can enter computations. So if we go to the writing questions help guide, and we scroll down and find the calculated interval part, we see that students are asked to enter an interval in interval notation. So something like this. Now we also notice that we can do answer format equals inequality to require the student to use inequalities rather than interval notation. So the only required variable is answer. We need to define the answer, and the answer is going to have a format similar to this. And so we're going to use capital U for a union notation, and then we're going to do two lowercase o's for an infinity sign. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and cook up an example. So I'm not going to add any question text. We'll just play around with the comment control. So we can define the answer. We'll just make up an answer, something like 1 to 3. We can do open and closed brackets. And we'll do capital U for union, and then 4 comma infinity. Something like this. So if we save that and we preview it, then in the show answer, we see the notation that we were expecting. And then on the student's end, they can enter basically computations within this interval notation, so long as when the computations are run for the endpoints of the interval, they give the same interval as what's expected. So we submit this, we're going to get correct feedback there. So pretty straightforward in that regard. Now another option is to do answer format equals inequality. If you want to have inequality type questions where students are entering intervals there, we just set this answer format variable. And our answer variable is not going to change. You're going to leave that in interval notation. iMathAS will handle all of that kind of conversion for you. So if we save and preview, now the student gets a little tip about how to enter their answers. And so now we're going to do something like 1 less than or equal to x less than 3. Now instead of a union symbol, we'll just type the word or, and then we would do something like 4 less than x less than infinity. And so in inequality notation, we would enter it like that. We submit it, we get correct feedback there. So pretty straightforward for doing both intervals and inequality notation. Now by default, if we use inequality notation, x is going to be our variable for our interval. If we want to change that explicitly, we just define variables. We set the variables variable, and then we set it to whatever variable we want to use. So we could change it to t. We could do something like f of t, anything like this. We can set whatever variable we want. So if we did something like f of t, now we would need to do something like 1 less than or equal to f of t less than 3, or 4 less than f of t less than infinity. So we've got some options here in terms of what variables we want to use. So this can be nice if you want students to enter, like, say, a domain and range for a function, and you want to use function notation for the range.